The Druids I know hold a strong set of values. Because we believe that everything is interrelated and dependent on each other for life, we value each individual equally and work towards a world where everyone can thrive. So J is for justice. Hi, my name is Hilda and this is my Druid life. Druids throughout history have been associated with justice. From the evidence we have of ancient Druids, we know that they were advisors of kings and judges for their communities. And more recently, a few centuries ago, there were mutual societies that named themselves after Druids, and they tended to be politically quite radical and stood for the equality of all people. Edward Williams was born in the middle of the 18th century in Wales. He was very interested in all things Druidic and collected all the evidence he could find for their thoughts and their poetry. He even passed some of his own personal poetry and writings off as ancient tradition. He went by the name of Iolo Morganwg to make it all sound even more authentic. But his poetry and his writings were really inspirational and are still part of the Druid tradition that I belong to this day. One of the important pieces of writing by Iolo is the Druid's prayer. The story goes that it originated at a time when Iolo and his friends were getting together outside on a hillside in Wales. They were known to be politically radical and not approved of by the authorities. So they got together in their circle and they knew that police were coming to break them up. So when they could hear the hoofbeats of the horses of the policemen coming closer, they stood proud and said the Druid's prayer. Grant, O God, thy protection, and in protection strength, and in strength understanding, and in understanding knowledge, and in knowledge the knowledge of justice, and in the knowledge of justice the love of it, and in the love of it the love of all existences, and in the love of all existences the love of God and all goodness. This prayer is still used regularly by groups of Druids. They tend to substitute the word God for goddess or spirit or great spirit, but it's essentially still the same prayer that asks for the knowledge of justice and the love of it. So, what does justice really mean? It might be easier to say what justice is not. Basically, all forms of inequality and all our excuses for it. There are differences of opportunity in society that are often based on how much money we have, but also any form of discrimination based on differences in gender or in sexuality, in nationality or religion. One of the most grievous forms of discrimination is, of course, racism and its nasty brother colonialism, which goes back to the idea that the world and all of creation is a thing that we can use and everything we can lay our hands on is legitimate property. That went to people sometimes, but definitely to the lands other people lived on and to nature as a whole. We are all interrelated and dependent on nature. We are part of it and can't just use it up. And so environmental degradation is another form of injustice, not only because it impacts people with fewer opportunities and lesser wealth first, but also because nature is full of individuals that also deserve to thrive. Justice comes from the Latin word jus, which means what is just, what is right and proper. It comes from an older root that means life force. So perhaps justice is a set of practices and norms that allows the life force to thrive and flow. When I first learned the Druid prayer, I couldn't quite understand the meaning of the word justice. beyond, the justice system and police and trials and juries and things like that. When I went to camp with my Druid community for the first time, I got an inkling of what it really means for me. I am usually quite a solitary individual, but at camp I wanted to be with the other people. I could feel that each of us was valued exactly for who we are, but that together we made a beautiful community. And that speaks to my idea of what justice is. It is thriving individuals in a thriving collective, just like nature, and in fact, always a part of nature. But how do we get from where we are now to a thriving society and a thriving world? People will have different opinions on this, but it strikes me that one of the important parts is to make sure that everyone has what they need to live a decent life. This is certainly important at this time when many more jobs are getting automatized or are so precarious and insecure that it is very hard for people to feel stable in life. It is also very important to build our communities, to make them more cohesive and to get people engaged in politics again so that decisions that are made by everybody. The next thing would be to get money out of politics. We all know that vested interests give their money to certain political parties so that they can make sure that nothing changes too much and they can keep doing the things they are doing and making the money they are making. And to make sure that democracy is really democracy, we really need to change that. Do you agree with my idea of justice? What would your definition be? What injustices would you like to see resolved in your lifetime? And what can you do to make that happen? Let me know in the comments below. Click like if you enjoyed watching this video and subscribe if you want to see the rest of the Alphabet Superset of Druidry. Thank you very much for watching. It's much appreciated, and I'll see you next week for the K for Karma.